If you're not sure why SEO is so important for churches, there are just a few stats and details you really should consider. Decades ago, churches didn't need to worry about promoting themselves to continue to grow. They had a ready-made pipeline, especially denominational churches like Catholics, Methodists, Lutherans, Baptists, Presbyterians, and others. What would happen is kids would grow up in these local churches, and they would continue to attend when they became adults. The trend would repeat with each generation. But in our research on church attendance, we found that changed very abruptly. According to Gallup's study, which has tracked church membership since the 30s, something interesting happened around the year 2000. For most of the history before that time, church membership hovered around 70% in the US, give or take a few points. Then it started to fall percentage points each year for the next 20 plus years. Less than half of all US adults are now a member of a church. This 2-decade streak of decline has interrupted the pipeline churches traditionally relied upon for years. Now, the numbers on church attendance and membership can be a bit alarming, and if you're curious about them, we do have a detailed study on all the data in a detailed report on our website and in the notes. However, it isn't as bad as it looks. Since the internet age, capturing attention and interest requires more work on the part of churches. But thankfully, there are free tools and methods to get your church in front of potential visitors and members. One of the biggest is SEO. On Google alone, there are 8.5 billion searches a day. Getting in front of these people interested in faith and community is key to the success of any church. Now, you might be wondering, does SEO really work for churches? And the answer is yes. I've worked with businesses, churches, and nonprofits for going on 15 years. Many paid people to do this work, but it really isn't necessary. Churches can use free, low-cost tools and processes. In total, churches can easily keep expenses between $250 and $800 a year to promote their church professionally online. I've seen churches do it for even less. The key is to have a little patience, be consistent, and to focus on the low-hanging fruit of church SEO, which we will show you. When we're talking about low-hanging fruit for churches, we're really talking about local SEO. And what's so impactful about local search is that it takes much less time, effort, and resources from a church to impact that type of ranking. For national organizations or a global organization, it can take 6 months to even years to start seeing an impact from SEO. For local organizations like churches, that impact is much, much faster. And the other part of it that's really nice is that you really don't have to invest nearly as much resources. There are 4 key elements of local search, and those are website, your Google business profile. You might think that's only for businesses, but that's not really true. This includes nonprofits. And then citations, and last of all, social media. Though not technically local SEO, it's really interwoven with it. So we're just going to slide it in there. It's also free. So of the 4 key elements, only one of them will cost you a dime. The website is going to be a consistent cost because you have to spend money maintaining your domain and also your hosting. If you already have a website and you're committed to maintaining it, you really won't have to spend much of anything extra, if at all. We're going to go into just a little bit more detail on the website component. We're not going to do a deep dive here. However, it's important to have a website that really suits your needs. Some churches really don't have one that's very easy to use or update or maintain. We did provide a free resource that covers the top 2 website makers in the US. It has a lot of details that are very helpful. We find about roughly half of websites in the US use one of these 2 web builders. The first is WordPress, the other is Wix. WordPress is particularly useful just because worldwide about 44% use WordPress for their website. chances are you have someone in your congregation that already knows how to use WordPress. Now that you have your website set up, you'll want to make sure you have all the key content you need to make your website successful. It's often surprising how many churches leave this for the visitor to figure out by simply walking into the doors. You really want to give them a lot of those details up front. That way they become a little bit more sticky. They're more committed to giving the church community more of a try, to start engaging in your events, your services, and possibly become long-term members. Now, most churches have a welcome team or a hospitality team. If you're looking to create one of those, we did create a free guide to get you started with a welcome kit to help convert new visitors into new members. A few thousand people have downloaded this resource already, and we find it's very helpful. It contains a lot of materials you could use for your church welcome packet, including 8 church connection card templates, church verse and quote cards for your welcome packets. We found 40 curated welcome quotes that you can use in this material. We also included free welcome message templates for visitors to help you greet them, and 7 free letter templates to welcome new members. You can copy and paste these materials, edit them as you need them. They're all free for you to use. Be sure to check the study guide for a link to the free visitor kit. Now, once you have your hospitality team or welcome team set up, you will need to call a meeting to hash out the waypoints new visitors typically take before they become members. Make sure you have all the details they need for accessing each part of the journey. Once you have those details, include links to critical materials. One could be your church calendar, detailing ministries, Bible studies, and meetups. You want to have something that makes it easy for people to figure out what sort of events are happening in your community, how they can connect, and how they can engage. If your church has an app, like the one Vanco has, to help church members engage in group chats, private chats, chats with the pastor, be sure to explain how they can access it and how to sign up. Those tools can be very helpful in getting newcomers involved, especially after they attend your first sermon. You want something that allows them to engage with the church in a more readily available way. Last of all, include personal stories of members who have had their lives changed for the better by joining your church. Quotes and testimonials are fine, but you'll be surprised how easy and effective a simple recording taken from somebody's phone can be. Most churches will upload it to YouTube and embed it to the page, which creates interactions not only for the robots to improve engagement stats, but it also gives potential visitors a story that explains the impact your church can have on their lives. If you're not sure how to embed these YouTube videos, it's really easy. It takes only a few minutes, especially if you're using a website like WordPress or Wix or Foursquare. All those websites make it super simple. All you have to do is go to the video, grab the code, paste it in, and it's all set for you. A successful blog can really help a church, but finding the time to build the content necessary can be a challenge. Thankfully, there are 2 types of blogs that can reuse existing material your church is already creating. I like to call this the reduce, reuse, recycle approach. I call it this because you're reusing the raw material you've already built and simply reformatting it. In this case, sermons are one of the main ones. You can easily convert sermons, especially if you have a script or if you've already uploaded these onto YouTube. All you have to do is grab the script that YouTube automatically generates. You don't have to worry about formatting it or anything. And then you can paste it through a series of prompts and easily create a sermon blog. And we'll detail how to do that in just a moment here. But I also want to discuss church newsletters. Church newsletter content is something many churches are already creating. They do this to inform members about what recently happened in the church and what's coming up. Most times we see churches doing monthly newsletters. For churches that are maybe a bit larger with a lot of events, the increments may be increased to bi-weekly to even weekly. Whatever the case, Repurposing this content as blog content is really easy to do, especially with AI. It only takes a few minutes, and you've already done most of the work by setting up the initial newsletter anyways. For churches that set these up for all their sermons and church newsletters, you have 65 high-quality blog posts each year, and that's plenty of content for a church looking to grow their online presence. To get started creating this content, all you have to do is navigate to the link within our study guide, and you'll see it right here. We anchored the table of contents to go to the specific portions of the articles with the relevant prompts. And we have prompts for pretty much every occasion here, so it's not just blog articles if you're interested in it, as email newsletters, prompt enhancers, fundraising materials, social posts. Basically, all the advanced prompts you would need to create the most common types of content your church might be creating. So to get started with the blog articles, simply click blog articles. And we have a bunch of prompts here that all could be useful depending on whatever situation you're looking to blog about. But the most valuable one will be this sermon transcript. Simply click on that, and we do have a video guide if you just need a refresher on it. What you're going to need to do first is get a transcript of your sermon. This is pretty easy to do if you're already uploading your sermon onto YouTube. YouTube will automatically create a transcript for you as soon as you upload it. If you don't want to put it on YouTube or haven't put your past ones on YouTube, you can get them just by using this tool right here. It's called CapCut. You have to download it. It is free, but you need to have the actual video file. My favorite method is the YouTube method simply because it is very simple. Just to show you how easy it is, we'll go to one of our videos and grab the transcript. I'll just pick this one. And this is just a video summary of one of our detailed guides that we created. I'm going to select more, then scroll all the way down to show transcript. From there, you will have the full transcript, and you would just copy this whole thing. Never mind the timestamps. It doesn't really matter anymore. The AI is able to work around that, so you can just copy the whole thing, then use that and paste it into the prompt, which we're going to grab right here. And you're going to need the whole prompt, so just copy everything from the top down to the bottom set of asterisks. And it's very detailed, but you don't actually have to read the whole thing. It's the AI's job to do that. I'm just going to go into ChatGPT because it's the most ubiquitous one and it's free. I always tell it to act as a bot with the following parameters. You don't always have to put that in, but it tends to work better when you do. I tend to have less glitches and things of that sort, so I just always put it in there. However, it will likely work fine even if you don't. Then hit enter, and then it's going to respond as the bot. It's going to ask for a few key details. Particularly, it's going to want the sermon transcript, but you can also indicate what the preacher's name is and the date of the sermon. Those two could be very helpful for anybody reading it, knowing who gave the sermon and when it was given. You don't need to put in the sermon title. I often just ask for it to create a compelling one. But if you do have a sermon title that you like, I would just put that in. And you can also put in the main topic or theme. You don't really need to if you have the whole transcript. It can work with it. So I created a sermon on letting go and letting God, and I'm just going to enter this whole thing into the chat right here. I'm just going to hit enter. You ideally would want to say what the pastor's name is and when the sermon was given, but I'm just going to hit enter and have it created. And now it's going to give me the complete blog of formatted content. It gave me a title. It made up the pastor name right here, in this case, John Doe. I would just have to replace it with my true pastor name. It indicates key scriptures and the date it was given. What I like about the blog is that it not only summarizes it, but it also gives action steps for the reader, how they can apply it into their life. Aside from that, it also gives a final reflection and a way to join the conversation and get engaged with the church. Ideally, you would want to embed your sermon. I would probably just embed it right at the top, probably right here. It'll allow people to play it once they read the sermon summary. Also, if you want to create newsletter content, we do have an email newsletter advanced prompt. You could simply use that prompt that we give you here, create the content, and then once you have the content for the email newsletter, you can ask it to convert it to a blog update format. With very little effort, it should be able to turn that around for you pretty quickly. Ideally, you'll still want to read through them, just make sure it didn't take any liberties that you don't want it taking. In general, it's usually minor things, if anything at all. So it is a very useful tool. It does tend to get it right the first time around, or close to right the first time around. If it does get it wrong, you can ask it to rewrite it, and then just simply go to the chat, tell it what you didn't like about it, and ask it to rewrite it in a different way. If you're not familiar with keywords, don't worry. We'll show you a super easy way to find the right ones for your church. Now, there are a lot more complex ways you can do this depending on how deep you want to get. But since most churches operate on a local level, the method we'll show first is going to work well enough for many. However, we will briefly share a few more advanced tools, all of which are free, if you or a volunteer feels particularly inspired to go a little bit further. So let's get started with the easiest, which are LLMs, or large language models like ChatGPT. These are great because they are loaded with instructional data that can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. To get started, simply choose a tool. ChatGPT works well, but others will also do the trick. Any free model will be just fine for this. Once you're there, give it a few details about your church. You'll particularly want to let the AI know where your church is located. If you're in a larger municipality, you might want to put in the neighborhood. For example, we put Midtown Atlanta, Georgia. Also detail if you're new or established in the area. You'll also want to indicate what type of page this is for example, your home page. And then last of all, I asked it to just list the best keywords in order. Once you have all those details, simply select enter. It's going to load for a minute. And as you can see, most of them involve some sort of geographical marker, such as Midtown Atlanta, the word church, and what denomination my church is a part of. Now, you can ask LLMs for numbers on volume to help you choose the best keyword, but they're usually off, and sometimes they're entirely made up. The best way to find the metrics you need to decide on the top keyword for your page is to enter its top 3 to 5 into an external tool. There are 3 free tools that we'll cover. You can find a link to each in our study guide. The first one is Answer the Public. Before I pop over to Answer the Public, I want to grab one of these keywords. As you can see, I put in churches in Midtown Atlanta. The tool lets you also search for Bing, YouTube, TikTok, Amazon, Instagram. I would always select Google just because you're dealing with churches in local areas that don't have a lot of volume. Probably won't find a lot of volume metrics that appear for these other ones. In the case of churches in Midtown Atlanta, there are 110. This number right here just indicates how costly it would be to advertise for this term if you wanted to. Usually the higher the number, the more difficult it is to rank for. And that might have been why the AI suggested these other terms first, especially since I'm a new church in Atlanta, Midtown. it might be more likely that I can get in front of people searching for these terms. Another tool you can use, especially because this only gives you 3 free searches a day, is SEMrush. And I'm going to use the same keyword here. You will have to sign up for a free account. However, it doesn't cost you a thing. Like Answer the Public, it will limit how many searches you can make in a given day. What I like about this one is that it gives a difficulty number. And we'll move on to the final keyword tool, which is Google Ads Keyword Planner. Now, you don't have to have an active ads account to use this tool, which makes it free. All you have to do is sign up for one, put your budgets at 0, and then go to the keyword planner. What's nice about this tool is that it doesn't have any limits. So let's say I wanted to get forecasts on all the keywords that ChatGPT suggested. I would simply copy the whole thing and paste them in. You'll notice all the numbers are a little bit different in each platform. That's fine. Each one has a different way of measuring the number of searches. The goal is to just find keywords with enough that register in the system. If you want to export all the keywords and get the data in a spreadsheet, you can do that. All you have to do is simply select the download right here. Each of these keyword tools are very handy. However, you don't need to go into the in-depth search on the quantity of searches. If you do it, I would suggest only going after your homepage. That's going to be the primary page people interact with. That's one that's helpful to have the most optimized. For the other ones, you can easily rely on just the ChatGPT method or large language method. They're pretty good at picking out the best keywords to begin with. Now that you know how to find the perfect keyword for your church's pages, you want to make sure your page is optimized. Optimizing a page for a church doesn't take very long, especially because you only need to really focus on 3 key elements. Those are title tag, meta description, and H1 header. You might not have heard of these terms before, but you've definitely seen them thousands of times on the web. Let's look at church services in Bloomington, Minnesota, for example. I typed this into the search. This is the result I received. You always see the map pack right here, which we'll cover a little later. And then beneath, you'll see all the regular search results. The title tag for each of these pages will be this hyperlinked text. The text beneath it is the meta description. And if you clicked into any one of these pages, the primary header that appears on the page would be the H1 header. It's the most important header on the page. There should only be one H1 header on the page. This all might seem pretty technical, but it doesn't have to be. In this video, we show you how to cut the process down to 2 minutes or less. All you have to do is follow the steps, take the prompt it uses, and enter it into any large language model like ChatGPT. You can get the link to the bot command right here. It's pretty detailed. It gives a lot of rules for the bot to follow, specifically maintaining the character limit guidelines. One of the things that can happen is that your text can get truncated, as you can see here with this ellipse at the end. That can be fine, but if it truncates too much of the text, it's not going to make the main title very clickable. Having a title tag and a meta description that is engaging and clickable improves the click-through rate, which pushes churches up the search engine results pages. So if you wanted to use this, a lot like the other ones, simply copy and paste the whole thing, go into a bot of your choice, enter it in here. It's going to think for a moment, and then it's going to ask you for a few details. For the primary keyword, simply choose one of the keywords that ChatGPT gave you earlier in the process we just demonstrated. Put that in there. And make sure you get your geographic location, organization name, and other details that it's asking for. And again, you can find a link to the video along with its free prompt in our study guide. There are other elements to the page that our bot doesn't do for you, such as on-page content. But search engines have really worked hard to advance themselves in such a way that it selects the best content to show its users. So, for any text you create, ask yourself 2 questions. Is this useful to a member or a visitor checking out my site? And 2, is there anything missing that they might be looking for? Generally, if you take it through these 2 key tests and include the 3 elements we covered, your page will be more optimized than most. We're going to focus on the hardest working digital promotion asset for churches, which is the Google My Business page. For many churches, this will show above their website result. For example, let's take church services in Bloomington, Minnesota. You can see the map pack results appear at the top right here. Usually 3 churches will appear there, and then there are results beneath it. Where it can really work hard to promote your church is if it can get into that 3-pack at the top. These results appear at the top and include an image that makes it stand out. If you don't already have a Google My Business profile, you can create one. It is pretty easy to do. It only takes a few minutes to do it at a minimal level, about an hour to do it at a complete level. We detail the steps over here, and you can find the details in our study guide. Simply go through the steps. If you want to be taken through it on a screen share, we embedded a video that also shows you how to do it within the article link. Once you've claimed your profile or you've established you have a Google My Business profile, you must optimize it. If you have an established profile but don't have access to it, you'll need to go through the claims process, which can be done through the same link we point you to in the instructions for setting up your business page. Claiming or verifying your page will usually involve Google sending a postcard to you. Once you receive it in the mail, you simply log on, enter in the code that you receive on the postcard, and then you have a claimed Google My Business page. The process can usually take a couple weeks because it has to go through the regular mail, but it is pretty easy to do. To optimize your page, there are a few things you can do, and all of them are pretty easy. Just to show you what can be done, we're going to go to Vanco's profile. As you can see, we don't have a lot of details here. The reason why is we aren't a local organization, so we don't spend a lot of time on this. But for churches which are a local organization, this Google My Business profile is very important. The first step is to go and fill out as many details as you can. Make sure you get your name, choose the right category. And this is important because if you choose the right category, which is a church, you'll have access to a booking link. You put your opening date, phone number. It also has a chat, which is pretty nice because sometimes people aren't really comfortable reaching out via phone call. You'll want to associate your website with your Google My Business profile, so make sure you get your URL in there. Double check that it doesn't lead to a 404 page. Make sure the link is correct. You'll want to make sure your PIN is correct. Sometimes the PIN will be off. Let's say the church is over here and the map has it right here. And that's just going to frustrate people and might turn people off from actually visiting your church. So you want to make sure this PIN actually leads you to the correct place. One way to test it is to type in your church name into Google, select your Google My Business profile, hit directions, make sure it actually takes you to the correct place. Most of the time it does take you to the correct location, but sometimes it just can be off. So you always want to double check that. You can go in with this little pencil icon, edit where your PIN shows to bring it to the correct location. You're going to want to add in your service area if it's a service area church. Let's say you don't have a physical location yet. Maybe you're having it at different places within a city. You can adjust it to a service area. For most churches, you have a physical address and you would not select it. Make sure you have all your hours in there. And this is pretty important because you want to make sure people know when your church doors are open. You can also add special hours for holidays or groups. So generally, the more detail that you have, the better. Aside from filling out all your details within the business information section, you're going to want to have pictures added to your profile. To do that, you just go to your profile settings, add images, which is right here. And you can also add videos and clips if you want. You can also add posts for your location. Most of the time, I see churches simply put links to their calendar with an image of an activity, or links to their sermon recordings with an image of their pastor speaking. If you want to, you can duplicate a lot of what you do on Facebook and add more posts, but the value of that is kind of diminished. After a certain point, it's just going to be a clutter of posts, and not as many people will naturally see it as like a social post. So I recommend just sticking to pointing to your key pages on the website with a description of how to get involved in events, maybe showing your calendar. If you have a newsletter link or a church blog update, like we discussed earlier, link to those. Another important thing that we scrolled past, I just wanted to give it a little bit of extra talking space because it's pretty important. You'll want to connect your social profiles to your Google My Business profile. It's pretty easy. You just get your social links, add them in. Facebook is particularly important to link to. One of the reasons is a lot of times people do like to leave reviews on Facebook. So having a link to your page will also link you up with those reviews. And this leads us into Google reviews. This is the most important thing you can do for local search. I've seen organizations of all types. Many invested little time or effort into their local SEO, but made a strong push for reviews after optimizing their profile. They quickly saw results. To illustrate, let's take a look at the search for churches in Bloomington, Minnesota. The first one that shows up is Cedar Valley Church, which has dozens more reviews than the next church. You also notice the map pack results doesn't match the results beneath it in order or composition. This is because the ones ranking beneath the map pack right here got there through more challenging processes. These processes take much more time and are significantly more expensive than being disciplined about asking for reviews. The reason why Google likes reviews so much, particularly its own, is that they can verify that real people in the community thought this organization was a great place to be. To ask for reviews, you can simply do it from the pulpit, print signs, and place them throughout the church with instructions for leaving review. I would also include a QR code on those posters to make it easy for people to scan with their mobile device. If you're wondering how to get that link and that QR code, it's actually very easy. If you're logged in, all you have to do is search for your church. You'll see something like this at the top. Right here, you'll see Ask for Reviews, and it gives you a review link. So all you want to do is copy that. Make sure you send that to folks, whether if you're sending it through email or linking out to it on your website. You can also save this image and put it on a poster. This will allow people to easily scan it and leave a review that way. Apart from getting people to leave reviews, the other maintenance step will be to continually revisit your page every once in a while to ensure it's been updated with the latest information. Last of all, you can also see some pretty cool metrics, particularly how many people are viewing your profile in a given time, how many clicks it sent to your website, the number of calls it sent your way, and how many people asked for directions to your church. I would occasionally also add some images to it. Overall, maintaining your Google page really is a low effort task. You're probably good setting up a monthly reminder to update it and optimize it. As far as impact, it can easily do more for your church than even your website. So I would rank it as a top task for optimizing your church online. If you've never heard of local citations before, don't worry. These are simply listings on locations like Apple Maps. Bing Maps, Yellow Pages, Super Pages, and other local listings. These can be done absolutely free. All you need to do is enlist the help of a dedicated volunteer to create these profiles. The process is pretty simple. Really, anyone could do it, and we made a free guide to help you with that process. In this guide, we share the links for the top dozen profiles you'll need to fully optimize your church. For most of them, you can simply click on the link and be taken directly to the profile creation page. I would recommend you have your volunteer keep track of the account names and passwords in a spreadsheet. This will allow your team to easily change the profiles later if your church ever moves to a new location. Before you create any of these profiles, simply search on each directory to see if your church already exists there. Creating a duplicate listing isn't helpful and it wastes your time. When searching on each profile, look for your church's name first, then your church's phone number, then your address. If you don't see any of these, you should create a profile. If something appears in the directory for any of these searches, you'll want to claim it or suggest an edit if the name, address, or phone number are incorrect. The process for doing it is similar, but slightly different for each directory. The key is to have your name, phone number, and address consistent across all these profiles. The reason is that users of tools like Google Maps get really frustrated when it steers them to the wrong location. This is why Google will give preferential ratings in its local map pack to churches that have a location verified by multiple established directories. It will also give favoritism to wherever the name, phone number, and address is consistent across all directories. Making sure your information is correct across the 3 primary data aggregators is also critical. We list the 3 major data aggregators. For 2 of them, updating that information is really simple. Those are DataAxle and Foursquare. We include links in the guide on how to adjust them. These are important for established churches, as many of the citations can automatically get created on directories like Super Pages. That's because these data aggregators feed them information. Making sure this information is correct in these places will ensure the details are consistent across the many citations. If you give it enough time, it will also lead to new citations being created without any effort from you. However, it can take a year or more in many cases. If you're wondering how many citations you need, it can vary, but one study indicated 20 to 40 was necessary. Doing the ones we mentioned in the guide are likely good enough for most churches. You can also use a tool from SEMrush to not only determine what citations your church already has, but to find new ones to list your church. It is free to use for the citation setup, and it also allows you to use its keyword research tool within limits. To demonstrate it, let's just put in Vanco. It's going to search, and at the top, it will give details on your online presence. For us, it indicates our online presence is bad because we don't have a lot of citations, and a lot of those citations also have the wrong address or business name. So that leads to a lot of inconsistency. If this was your church, it wouldn't be ideal. You'd want to go in and fix these inconsistencies and add additional listings. The citations the tool mentions aren't really church specific, but they tend to be useful in that they are well-known generic citations that Google relies on to verify information. Though managing citations is tedious, it is helpful. Also, you only really have to do this work once. Once you submit and set up your citations, which only takes a handful of minutes for each profile, you never have to touch it again unless your church changes its name, phone number, or address. Try to delegate this task to a volunteer. If you're interested in delegating this work, we recommend you share the free citations guide with them, which we'll include in our study materials. It has the instructions needed to make it easy for them. Church social media is a topic by itself, but there are a few key tactics and pitfalls you should be aware of. The first one is Facebook. Facebook is a great tool for churches, and it is a good idea to have a page for your church, not only for the citations and reviews we mentioned earlier, but as an additional space for people within your community to connect. However, we often see churches overestimate its potential. To illustrate this, we have Vanco's Facebook page right here. We have almost 2,800 followers. By the way, if you like the information and tools we have shared, you should follow us there. You can find our latest free guides and tools. We try our best to share several new tips and tools each day. Now, we make these posts because it helps the material we create get discovered in Google's search faster and to support our community. However, our reach is usually capped to around 5% of our 2,800 followers, which means we only get about 140 people seeing each post in their individualized news feeds. The reason for this is Facebook, of all the social media platforms, is the most pay-to-play of them all. They really want organizations like churches, nonprofits, and businesses to boost their posts. If you're really interested in this, we created a guide a while back on how to do it. But I would exhaust your free or low-cost tactics before moving into this area. Now, there are ways around it. You can equip members to share posts on their individual networks. The reach of friends aren't limited in the same way as followers for an organization or business. Overall, it is definitely worth it for churches to have a Facebook page and encourage community engagement in the space. But if we were to give social media medals for their usefulness to churches, we would give Facebook the bronze simply because it struggles to do anything but supplement a church's promotion online. If you're looking for free tools to expand your Facebook strategy, we created a free social media kit complete with hundreds of posts, templates, a free AI tool, a strategy guide, and much more. It can save you time promoting your church. You can find it in the notes if you're interested. When it comes to social media, video really stands out. Whether it's Instagram's Reels, YouTube, or TikTok, not everyone thinks of these as social media, especially because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the US behind Google. But they are the most valuable social networks for churches for three reasons. The first is video platforms offer a lot of organic reach. YouTube has 253 million US users and TikTok has 170 million. But the biggest benefit of each one is that they don't require churches to boost their content like Facebook. This means you can reach a high percentage of your church's audience as long as they are following you on the platform. The second reason is these platforms boast some of the most engaged social media users. The average TikTok user spends 96 minutes a day on the platform. YouTube, the second place for engagement, is just a little ways behind for daily usage. The third reason to be active on these platforms is the level of effort to create content is low. As we mentioned earlier, your pastor or priest is already investing a lot of time into creating and delivering soul-stirring sermons. Make the most of this effort by recording the sermon and posting it onto these platforms. You can even break these sermons out into smaller snippets to create a dozen or more short-form videos. These videos can be used on Reels, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. The time commitment for editing these and posting them is only a tiny fraction of the time that your pastor or clergy put into preparing and delivering the sermon. Even Instagram generally offers more organic access than Facebook, which can make video content more effective as it is also more engaging. What's nice about video, particularly YouTube and TikTok, is that much of the content you create can easily be duplicated or repurposed to be posted on both platforms, effectively extending your reach. This is because TikTok now allows longer videos on the platform, which would be suitable for sermons. If you're like most churches who have at least dabbled in YouTube, and not necessarily TikTok, one way to get started would be to repost your YouTube content onto the platform. As you gain comfort with it, you will likely want to clip your content down to shorter form videos. If you're looking for more detail on optimizing these platforms, we created a video on YouTube that shows a free tool for optimizing your posts to maximize reach. It creates expert post text, tags, and more with very little effort from you. We'll include that in the show notes. If you're looking to find a cheap and easy way to do editing, we would recommend Descript. It is much easier to use than traditional editors. I've used it and have no editing skills myself. It also has AI features that can automatically remove retakes, eliminate background noise, regenerate words that sound garbled, and a host of other features. It's nice because it has a lot of how-to videos as well, and an AI overlord that will actually do tasks for you if you simply ask it to in the chat. In most cases, the free plan will work, but its hobbyist plan is only about $12 a month and will easily satisfy the needs of a growing church's YouTube and TikTok channel. We'll include a link to it in the notes. You can try it out for free. We aren't being paid or endorsed by them. It's just what many on our team have used and have found to be the most cost-effective option. It is also a low time commitment tool, making it so that this task can be given to a volunteer. One of my favorite things about it is just its interface. It transcribes everything, so you can just simply go into the script and delete portions of it out, sort of like you're editing a Word document. It also has tons of templates, stock videos, images, and other tools that make editing even more simple. Another tool you could try is this CapCut tool that we mentioned earlier. It also operates in a sort of a freemium way. It is pretty easy to use, and we'll also include a link to that in the study guide. As you start attracting visitors through SEO and digital outreach, keeping them engaged and turning them into active members is crucial. And Vanco offers easy-to-use tools to help you do exactly that. I'm going to pass things over to Mike, who will cover how your church can quickly set up giving tiles for specific causes, like funding your giving and growth initiatives. He'll also introduce you to Vanco's mobile app, a powerful tool designed to connect your church community digitally, helping newcomers easily engage and feel welcome from their very first visit. And remember, all the resources, tools, and step-by-step guides we've covered today are available in your free study guide. Now, let's hear from Mike on how Vanco can support your church's growth journey even further.
All right, well, thanks, Jordan, for going through all that great information and showing everyone how they can grow their church effectively and drive increased donations through some of those SEO strategies. Now, real quick, I wanted to dive into the different tools we have available at Vanco to help you maximize giving, boost engagement, and that ties into many of the SEO strategies Jordan was talking about earlier. So when it comes to Vanco, we have a full giving and event management system to help you grow your church and boost engagement and drive donations. So we have an events management system that can help you boost community engagement, attract new members, and streamline events and fundraisers. We have our mobile giving app, which is a simple to use smartphone app that makes giving easy from anywhere at any time. We also have our online giving system where you can build online giving pages that can allow your members to give directly on your website in a user-friendly option that's visually appealing and that can help you share your story, which will allow you to increase giving online. We also even have text to give options, which can make giving as simple as sending a text. And so with that said, let me actually dive into the software itself so you can see a bit on how it works and how you can have this integrate with your various SEO strategies Jordan was covering earlier. So first thing I wanted to showcase is what your giving pages can look like using Vanco Online. And so you can build your own dedicated giving pages. And so you can see some of the options here where you can highlight specific causes you're trying to raise funds for and different opportunities for your community to give. And so we can see things like our general Sunday offerings, different things like a capital campaign, maybe highlighting donations for a specific cause, and maybe you have various events coming up like a family festival and more. And so it's very simple to create these tiles, but I'll show you an example of what it looks like when someone goes through this process. So if someone wanted to make a donation here for the Sunday offering, it just asks them a few simple questions like the amount they want to donate, whether it's a one-time donation, recurring donation, or in installments. So again, just simply enter that amount here. Let's say they want to do it recurring, and they could do this every week, every 2 weeks, monthly, various options there. They can choose when they want to start this donation and then enter their member number if they had such a thing in your church. They can simply add to cart and move on to process that payment and set up that recurring giving here as well. Again, it gives you the option to have a great visual, share some details about this specific offering, and much more. Now, again, when it comes to building these tiles, it's actually very simple in our system. So this is what it looks like in the back end of Vanco Online. And so if you don't yet have a site, you can actually build a full new site. It's very simple. You can just click new site. You enter what it's called. Just do example church in this case. You can also have the option to display that name at the top. You can enable social sharing so people can share this site on social media, making it much easier to promote this. So let's say we enable that as well. And then you can simply choose to add different tiles. So if you already had various tiles built, you could simply just select those. So it's a great option to add these as well for some of the most common giving opportunities you have in your community. Again, we can simply add those tiles, and then you could see what this site looks like. So again, we have the various options that we added to this page. Now again, if we go back, there's a couple other options here. You could set up a QR code that you could share at in-person events. Maybe you have this just on your community boards throughout your church, various things like that. You can also get this site link. So again, this link would go directly to your giving pages. So this is something that's great that you could share on your Google business profile like Jordan talked about setting up. You could link to this if you maybe didn't have your own website built yet on the various citations he mentioned and those different sites. You could share this link on social media and your social media profiles that you might have created, various things like that. So a lot of great options to help you promote your church and giving opportunities available. Now, again, if you wanted to create some new tiles, this is also very simple. We just go to the tiles section here on giving. We can click new tile. And then if you wanted to do it such as a payment where you're just collecting a payment, that's an option. Again, this can work well for event tickets, registration fees, memberships, and more. But maybe you just want to set up a gift type of tile. This is great for donations, fundraisers, and other giving opportunities. So we'll do the gift option here. So let's say we just do Sunday giving, just so you can see how this process works. So we'll save and continue there. We could add a description. So all donations go toward Sunday services support, whatever the case might be here. And then you could have a short description as well. This is going to show up on the specific tile once it's launched. Again, you could add a button label here. You could have a custom one if you chose to, or again, you could have just something like give now, very simple. You can go to save and continue. Now, if you had your own custom image, you could certainly add that here. If not, there's a whole library of high quality stock photos that you could add here as well. So again, I can type whatever I choose to in here to see if I can find some relevant images. Let's say I just do Sunday service, since that's what this giving tile is about. It gives me several different options, but again, I can continue to scroll through and maybe find one that looks relevant. So again, let's say I just choose one here, you choose this image, and now that's selected. So I can simply just save and continue. And so now I have the option to choose what fund this goes to. So again, maybe it's just our general fund here. And then you can also set up what frequency options people can choose. So again, maybe it's a one-time donation, maybe it's once at a future date, again, weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, or maybe they have a large yearly donation that they want to donate at that time. Again, you can allow installments. You could choose an end date if you want to have that as an option. And they could also have a custom field here. So again, maybe you're doing a memorial or some type of in honor of gift, whatever the case might be, you have that option as well. And again, you could have multiple options here, like a text field, a drop down. You could make that required or optional. Again, now we've got the tile built here. We can see what it looks like. We can also put where we want this tile to be visible. So let's say we just do on example church. And I could do done. So now if I go back to my site of example church that we built earlier, I can view that. And now we can see that new tile is here and available. So again, very simple process to start building these tiles. There's also a mobile giving site option. This gives you several different features that you can build specifically to fit your community's needs. So again, we've got things like our Bible reader, we've got a community engagement options, so various groups you can set up, different events you can have highlighted here on this mobile app. So again, a lot of simple things that you can do to start linking to these giving pages right from your website. So again, as Jordan talked about, as you're building out your website, there's going to be a lot of opportunities where you can highlight your giving page. For example, if you're on your home page here, you could highlight it in various sections like this, like a giving section. Again, this is a great place where you could link to your giving page. You could have various CTAs or calls to action that drive people to your giving pages, like the Give Now buttons here. Another option that you could do, you might have a tab at the top. Again, this is just our demo site, but this could link right to your giving pages as well. And again, the more links that you have going to these pages, the more likely they'll be found. And so again, if you're highlighting these throughout your website, on social media, your various pages there, your Google business profile, and all the other various places Jordan talked about, like citations and more, this can go a long way to help you drive awareness of your church throughout the community, but it can also be a great way to attract new members and drive donations as well. Now, when it comes to events, this is another tool that we have within Vanco. And so this is just a quick snapshot of what your event listing page can look like once you build this out. So again, you can fit this to fit your community's branding. You can upload a logo. You can link to your Facebook page or Twitter if you choose. And again, you can highlight various events here as well. So maybe it's Mother's Day events, women's retreat, vacation Bible school, maybe it's a conference within your community, a volunteer service event, various things like that. So there's a lot of different options where you can simply highlight these and people can actually book tickets through this process. Again, you can list information about your events, where they're taking place, and people can simply book these. So again, you might have a free ticket option for an event. Maybe you have a suggested donation option available. And at the checkout process, there's also the opportunity to add donations throughout the checkout process. So again, even if you're doing a free event, you could use that to build community awareness, drive engagement, develop greater connections. Again, one thing that we found is that when people feel more connected to your church and your community, they're more likely to give. So events can be a great way to do that. And again, you could simply add a donation on top of that free ticket if people choose to. And again, these are great things to highlight on your website here, throughout social media. Typically, we're going to recommend having something like an event tab. Again, just our example site, but likely you could link that directly to your event listings. You could also have a calendar embedded here of the various events that you have upcoming, but then also link directly to your events page as well. So again, it's a very robust system that's available to help you optimize giving and drive engagement that can work right in line with your SEO strategies, like Jordan talked about earlier.
Let's jump into how you can get started utilizing these tools and strategies to help accelerate growth and drive giving and engagement at your church. Now, obviously, there are a lot of different giving platforms available in today's market, and we know that many churches are already utilizing online giving. But if you're watching this and you aren't utilizing a giving platform currently, or maybe you're just looking to make a switch to a better option, let's talk about why you should choose Vanco. There are a lot of different reasons, but our top 10 include things like our white glove customer service and support, our free mobile church app, our enhanced giving pages and tiles, our multiple donation options, the fact that we have no long-term contracts, our complete data security, and the fact that we integrate seamlessly with over 60 church management systems. You'll also get quick access to donated funds. And we offer free launch materials and in-depth training to drive church growth. Plus, we have over 20 years of experience helping over 25,000 churches to grow giving and much more. Now, in addition to these great reasons, our team at Vanco put together 10 simple steps to boost engagement, maximize giving, and accelerate church growth. And with this simple framework, we can help turn your church into a thriving community. So the foundation of our process starts with setting up your online giving tools and giving pages, hosting community events and small groups to attract new members, effectively sharing your giving link online and with your community, promoting recurring giving to your members, showcasing stories and the impact your donations can make, thanking givers and providing updates on impact, creating internal champions, and maximizing fundraising efforts through simplifying capital campaigns and utilizing giving data to scale growth and increase retention. Overall, our goal here at Vanco is to help your church tell your story, share your story, foster generosity, and gain insights on the back end so you can make educated decisions to help you elevate your community's experience through effortless giving and enhanced engagement. Getting started with us is incredibly simple. To get started, you can connect with our team here at vancopayments.com or give us a call directly at the number you see here on the screen, and our team will be happy to help you build your optimized giving system today. Thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to working with you.